Hey guys, welcome to Project Metal Music's YouTube channel with your host Elion, and we are here with the brilliant band Thorne. So welcome guys.
Thank you very much for having us.
Cheers.
Hi, man.
Cheers, mate.
Pleasure. So guys, could you introduce yourselves and what you do within the band?
Yeah, Alfie, did you want to go first?
I'm Alfie. I play bass.
I'm Matt. I play rhythm guitar and lead vocals.
Yeah, I'm Pete. I play lead guitar and I do some backing vocals.
I'm Joe. I'm the drummer.
Cool. So guys, let's dive into some questions. As kids, what were you listening to?
Cool.
Who wants to take that? Go on, Pete.
I'll go on, Pete. Go on, Pete.
Yeah, so I sort of grew up in Pink Floyd. I think Pink Floyd was like my earliest memories of I suppose getting into guitar-based music. Oasis were on a lot as a kid as well. So yeah, quite a lot of sort of classic rock stuff, I guess, was sort of through my childhood. What about yourself, Joe? What were you listening to?
It was a bit mixed until I was starting to learn the drums. Before it was whatever my parents gave me. So it was Queen, the Beatles, and then it moved on to Gorillaz. I think one of my aunties and uncles bought me with the first CD, and from then on it moved on to drum-related music. So Slayer, Slipknot, heavier side of stuff, hard-hitting. Started naturally, and then it moved towards drum-centric music for me.
Nice. I've always been. I like a lot of stuff. I've always been into sort of 2000s emo rock, sort of Blink-182, Offspring, stuff like that. Really into. I blanked on it now. Queens of the Stone Age. I think Queens of the Stone Age is one of my big ones. Yeah, definitely.
It's funny you should say that, Joe, because actually the first CD I ever bought was like the Demon Days CD by Gorillaz.
Fantastic. 2005, amazing.
Yeah, that was the first CD I ever bought. But prior to that, it was. It sounds really bad as a musician now, but like prior to this, like I know Pete can relate to it. I didn't really surround myself with music that much as a kid. I was really into football. It wasn't until I was becoming like a teenager, really into like Busted. Busted were like a massive gateway.
Oh yeah,
That doesn't surprise me at all, actually.
Yeah,
No, Matt, that doesn't surprise me.
and then it was Green Day, like the album that kind of changed it all for me was the American Idiot album. Like that, just sonically, theatrically, like everything about it. That was the album that kind of sort of like changed my course for what I wanted to do into. I want to make music. Like that's really cool. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, so who actually got you into listening to music? Was it parents, sibling, or was it like a friend, or was it sort of
Oh, apologies. I don't know if it's just for me, but microphone's
Quite
very
quiet.
quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Oh, keep testing.
yeah, bear with us. Is that better?
There we go.
That's good.
That's great.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I've been having problems with the audio for the last couple of days. It's been ridiculous. So sorry about that. So as who actually got you into listening to music? Was it your parents or siblings, or was it sort of like a journey of self-discovery?
Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'll take it. I think it was kind of just from mine was actually from my cousins. I got lent, going back to the previous conversation, I got lent the American Idiot CD, and going way back now, before like Spotify and everything. Do you remember like the like portable CD players you used to have?
little
Chuck a seed.
Walkmans.
Yeah. I remember being on a car journey to Cornwall and listening to this CD that my cousin had given me, and that was kind of my gateway into like listening to music. And I like that it was that like tangible rather than now where it feels so much less so. But yeah, that was like my gateway into music, because I think I was just more like interested in. I think if you're not a musician or you don't play an instrument, it's so fascinating how people write music, how people create. I think I had like so many questions about this music that I was hearing that I just kind of wanted to throw myself into like emulating that and making that sort of like noise, so to speak. And that was that was for me the path into music.
Cool.
Yeah,
I think I'll step in and. Oh, sorry, Pete. You go ahead.
Right. No, I was just saying. For me, like, I definitely was influenced by my parents. I think a lot growing up, so there was always music on. I mean, whenever we was in the car journeys, or we'd have days where we just clean the house, there's always music playing. So it was quite apparent, and there was so much sort of different genres growing up as well that I think helped me as I sort of got older to enjoy a wide range of music. But I guess it wasn't until I was 12, 13, I started wanting to learn the guitar, and that was actually my mum that pushed me, because originally I wanted to learn drums, and I don't think she liked the idea of that. I think it would have just driven her mad. So she ended up buying me a guitar. But I remember my hands were so small, I couldn't play a tune on it. It was awful, and it wasn't until I was about 14 or 15 I started picking it up again. But yeah, I think it was mostly my parents that kind of helped me on that journey to sort of get into music, definitely.
I think for myself, there's no musical bone in my family. It was same as Pete said, it was my mum. I think she thought I was having a lot of fun at a school pantomime when I was quite young, hitting being one of the little soldier boy drummers. So it went from that to, he'd love to learn drums, the most antisocial instrument. But I was continued on from that point. But there's no musicianship in my family. It's all just me. I'm naturally not very good either. It took me years and years of just exposure, going to pub jams, going to blues gigs, and building up from there to actually get a grasp of it. But yeah, for me, it was my mum who introduced me to it as well.
Cool.
Nice, man. I'm the same as Joe. I don't have a particularly musical family. We've never really been. I mean, I am, but we've never really been into that sort of stuff. But it was when I was in secondary school. Sort of me and my friends would sort of hang out together in the music department and just sort of like talk about songs we liked and then start jamming together. And that would turn into sort of Friday nights, sat around with your mates, drinking cheap bottles of cider, watching Scuzz, see what all the latest music videos are and stuff like that. Good fun, really. It was around that point I thought, this is something I have an interest in. Yeah.
Oh, if I could ask you quickly, how did this come about? Like, because obviously you're very, very passionate about music. So where did your sort of like, where did it go from like being a consumer and just listening to it to them wanting to like speak to other bands and be involved in music in this way?
Well, basically, I can go back to 1979. First time I saw two bands, Two-Way Army, when they released Cars, and Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall, Part 2. Those two videos really cemented my sort of like passion into music. Then over time, as I was consuming a lot of music via the radio at the time, this is going back like in the 80s and 90s, I was sort of like thinking, I can actually, because I've listened to like a lot of interviews on the radio on the radio, and then like music, people like at music channels like MTV, Schools, Krang. I was like thinking I can actually do a better job than these people, because I've seen some of these interviews where they talk about the most random shite I can actually think of.
Yeah.
I was just like thinking, why are you asking people, these musicians, about what colour underwear they're wearing? I was like, go where? That's not relevant to what you're on about. Why the bands are there for.
I love that attitude, man. I think we all agree with you on that one.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Is this where you asked us what colour underwear we're wearing?
No. Well, put it this way, my moderators will basically lynch me. Put it out here. Because the vast majority of them are women, and I'm scared of them, basically. So, yeah. But anyway, so out of all the bands that you've listened to over the years, who was your sort of like main influence, or if you got several main influences, who was your sort of like main influences to say, I want to do this, I want to get on stage, I want to perform?
Oh man, that's a tough one, to be honest.
That is really tough.
Is it in terms of like the music we're writing now, or is that just in terms of like our musical journey?
It's sort of like musical journey, or in sort of like in broad general terms.
I think
one of
sorry, I think
no,
for me,
you go for it, man.
I think Guns N' Roses probably kick-started that for me. I think I'd like listened to a lot of music and got into the sort of guitar like world of music. But I kind of like, I think every young guitarist did just sort of become a bit fixated on Slash. And I just thought he was like the coolest, like most original guitarist at the time. And just sort of seeing some of the stuff that he'd do live, sort of like he'd have these just crazy solos that he'd do, or instrumental pieces. And I was just like, that was probably one of the first sort of moments I looked at him and went, oh yeah, I'd love to do that. Like I'd love to play live and sort of express myself through music. But yeah, that probably for me, Guns N' Roses.
Cool.
I think I'd say for myself, it was the band that they're not the biggest band. They were big bands, but they weren't the biggest bands. The Devil Wears Prada, for me in terms of performance, American bands. The drummer isn't the most technical. Well, he wasn't the most technical. Unfortunately, he passed away middle of last year. But his performance and image and style were what really set him as unique. And I've always followed that. And it's got a mixture of Travis Barker, kind of hip hop, sort of pop punk look to the style and image, which a lot of the drummers will play what they want to play, and it will fit to the style of the music. But there aren't many drummers that have a distinct style and a distinct look to them, and that's what really drew me to it. And there are a lot of drummers. If you're a drummer, there's a lot of drummers where you can distinctly tell who they are by what they're playing. And I like to build my own signature. Devil Wears Prada specifically for me is what helped build that up for me. I think I'm in a way I'm trying to mirror parts of that, but that was a big inspiration for me.
Cool.
Matt?
I wasn't going to answer this question to keep things going. To give you a really honest answer, I actually don't know. It kind of changes with the seasons, and the I can't really pinpoint like a specific artist or group that's ever been like that sort of like pinnacle point for me. So it's probably not a very interesting answer, but I think it changes so frequently, because at the moment, like with what we're writing, we're listening. I say we. I'm listening to a lot of like Thornhill while she sleeps, but then I also like. I think we, as a band, just draw influences from loads of different places, and I know that we all listen to very different genres as well. So I think that there's interests that bleed in, and I hope that's apparent from our music as well. But yeah, as a on a personal level, I don't really have a specific answer. I'm really sorry.
You should be.
I think for me a huge one is Tim Comerford from Rage Against the Machine and Audio Slave. I think that's a massive influence on the sort of sound I go for, particularly these days. Now, sort of, we can sort of pick and choose the equipment we use a little bit more. But I just always love the way that those bands always sound massive, despite the fact they're a three-piece. You don't feel like there's anything missing. They're sort of always constantly nailing that uphill battle of sounding big. And I just think that sounds awesome. A more recent one is Tina Weymouth from Talking Heads. I think she's fantastic, and my flatmate I used to live with showed me Stop Making Sense, and I just think it's one of the best live shows I've ever seen. I thought, oh yeah, I want to do that.
Cool. Were you in any bands prior to starting Thorne?
I'll let Pete answer that.
So I've had the unfortunate experience of being in. This is mine and Matt's third project. So I've only ever been in a band with Matt, and it's been miserable. No, I'm joking. It's been brilliant. No, we actually started off in an indie band. God, when was that, Matt? How long ago?
I think it might have been 2016, maybe 2017. It's been.
I was 17.
We've known each other for about 10 years, so it must have been around then.
Yeah, and then that band split, and it was quite funny actually because I was working at the time, and I was a bit inexperienced in the sort of like in the band sort of scene, and I had a phone call from Matt, and he was like, "Do you want the good news or bad news?" And I was like, "Oh, I'll take the bad news first." And he was there like, "Okay, well, I think this band's finished," and I was like, okay. I was like, well, what's the good news? And he's like, I've got you an audition for another band if you want it. I was like, okay, out with the old, in with the new. And yeah, that was it. And then we were in that project for about 4 years, I think. Well, I left during COVID, and I know it continued on for a little bit longer. And then fell out of love with music for quite a while. And then we started this up a year and a half ago now, I think.
I'd say, probably about a year ago, but it's been about a year and a half in the making.
Yeah.
Cool. I think from Alfie and I's perspective, we're both new. We don't know each other previously. I picked up Alfie from the train station, and we went for the audition for Thorne. We had a different name at the time when we were just finding our feet. So I picked up this guy I didn't know with a bass at the train station. Anything could have happened. And we went to audition. We were like, "Are you a bit nervous?" Yeah, I'm a bit nervous. So we were a bit nervous driving up there. And it went swimmingly. Like, it went really well. It's so hard to find. I get it's really hard to find musicians who have the mindset that we want to do this professionally, because that's what we want to do. It's not a hobby band. It's not a just a little bit on the side of life. It's like we if we have the opportunity to do this professionally, we want to do it. And I was saying to my mates a few times that it's difficult at this stage of life to find other people who have the same mindset. You have a lot of settling down, marriage, kids, that sort of stuff, where that takes priority necessarily. It took a long time for Pete and Matt to find the right guys for all girls for the job, and it all sorted into place quite nicely, didn't it? I think
really smooth.
Happened quickly, and this last year has gone so quick. I've been in bands previously, but not for quite a long time. I've always worked shift work for the last 10 plus years, so for me it's gone from nothing to you know, really, really, this is a huge part of my life right now.
Alfie?
Same sort of thing, really. I mean, I have played in a few bands sort of on and off since college. I think this is the first time where it's ever been quite a serious thing. This is the first time I've sort of been quite. Sometimes I'm quite overwhelmed when I sort of see the stuff we're doing in like rehearsals and in the studio and stuff, and it's like, oh wow, this is a real thing I'm doing, as opposed to, it's always been fun, but usually it's never progressed more than I will do a couple of rehearsals and maybe play like an odd pub gig or something like that. But this is this is big leagues.
So we've got a question from Ozzy Queen LaRouge. She asks, how did you come up with the band's name?
So
Cool.
I
Go for it, Matt.
we were actually called something else prior, which I won't divulge into. But we actually, as we were releasing everything, we knew that we wanted to call the EP that we've just done. We wanted to call it Glass in the Garden, and there'd always been this sort of like focus around flowers. Like if you look at our artwork specifically, which Pete does all of our artwork. There's always like flower themes, and it's something that's run sort of like continuously throughout the spine of the band, even though we're going through sort of like an ebb and flow of different styles and how we write. And Thorne kind of came through with that, with the focus specifically in the when we were going through writing Maimed, and we had the idea with the roses. Thorne sort of came up, and we thought to make it different, put the E on the end. So, so I think it's. I think we. I was a little bit unsure at first on Thorne. I do like it now. It's sort of like short. I like to think it's memorable, and we always joke that it's Thorne with an E. So.
Name of our group chat.
But yeah, the unfortunately, it's not some lovely elaborate story that goes down these twists and turns of will they, won't they, with different names. I'm sorry, I wish it was, but it's we kind of sort of like actually when we had to change our band name, Thorne came about, I believe, within the space of like 6 hours. And anybody that's tried to start a band before, coming up with a band name is arguably one of the most difficult parts.
Stressful, definitely.
Yes. So that's how we came up with the name.
Cool. Thank you for that, Ozzy. Lisaboo has just said, I love that using the flower theme.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't really know if it was necessarily a conscious decision. I think it actually just it started to happen with how we were writing. And I remember when me and Pete were first starting the band. So Pete does all of our imagery. He does all of our artwork. And I think that, I don't know, maybe Pete's probably better to answer that, but I think that was something we just kind of naturally felt fit our sound in the visual sense. I don't know, Pete, maybe you should take that one.
Yeah. So like it's a strange one because it's my first time ever trying to do like come up with concepts for artwork or anything like that. And one thing that we have done throughout is, they're real photos that have been taken, and it's not. We actually haven't used any sort of softwares to like digitally make any of the artwork. It's all been actually like shot on a camera, which has been a pretty cool experience. I mean, I have little to no experience doing that, so I guess we kind of were throwing around a few concepts in terms of what we were going to do for the EP, and then from there we ended up landing on the sort of flower idea. And then we've kind of had to evolve that because we liked how the first one for like This Feels Like Heaven, the way it was shot with the sort of like the flowers being held in the hand was almost like the start of that journey. And then in the sort of maimed artwork, it's like the rose that's sort of like bleeding out. And now it's just trying to find the conclusion for the EP. which is something still kind of working on. But I think for us, it's important that we have something that kind of tells a story alongside of our music, and also we always want like the artwork to complement the music as well. And I think with Flowers, that kind of made it a bit easier, I guess, because I think it was more just like an idea that sort of grew between the band.
Like a flower.
Don't go punch that.
Cool. What has the band been up to? Basically since the band's inception.
We've been busy.
Yeah.
We've run a tight ship. Like, we've had a tight schedule because we want to do this properly. It all came around. Well, first of all, it was the songwriting that took precedence. So it took us a long time to get our first gig because we didn't do any cover songs. We wanted to be out and gigging properly and getting set with our set list. We wanted to be confident. So our timetable, we tend to meet up we've met up every quarter. We've met up every 3 months and just gone through what are the priorities, what needs doing next. And we've generally stuck to that quite well. It's just a realistic expectation of like how much money we expect to spend, how much money do we need to put into the band every month. What's this all going to cost us? Because you need to prioritize. Well, studio is the most important for us. We want the best quality sound for our tracks, and we think that's paid off really well. We've got a fantastic listener rate and playlist on our songs. Next would be equipment and our general wears and tears. We have some big projects in terms of cash that we need to pay for, but we communicate. We're all aware of what needs to be spent. We're all aware of what needs to be done. We put a lot of money into the media. We put a lot of money into the music videos. We've spent a lot of hours on all of it as well, naturally. So we have our 3-month plans and we have our 6-month plans, and we want to know where we're going to be in the next 6 months, year. We have a rough idea. Some of it changes. We have it written down. We adjust it as needed. We've been pretty disciplined when it comes to that, and generally more or less all on the same page. I think it's just we all come from different backgrounds and different experiences, so it's healthy that we do that. It really does help. But I think this next 18 months is a big one for us because now we've got our full set. We can play a live show. We can play a smaller set, a larger set. But we have a lot of stuff in the pipeline, and we have a pretty booked diary for this year.
Cool. Got a question from Lisaboo, all the way from Canada. She asks, when you write your music, is there a process to it?
Do we take it out? Or Matt?
I think it's kind of, it's a little bit disjointed. Thank you for your question. I guess what kind of happens is that there's always like a crux of a song. There's something there that we bring into the room and we work on. And I think what has been probably the biggest challenge with this band compared to previous bands is that we run tracks, and obviously Joe runs a click as well when we play live. So it means that like writing things on the spot sometimes can be quite challenging because obviously we have a grid to stick to. But before we even get to that point, we normally sit down and we flesh out sort of like a draft of the song, so to speak. And yeah, it chops and changes between whether it's sort of like fueled by lyrics or it's fueled by instrumentation. I think that it's always fueled by like a feeling without getting too like on my soapbox. Like it is very much like everything that we do in terms of music. I always find that there's undercurrent of whatever the initial feeling was, whatever the initial emotion was, that is bled through in every instrument. And I like to think, and I hope that it comes through in the recordings and it comes through when we play live. But I don't think, and again, I don't know what you boys think, but I don't think there's a strict linear process that we follow as a band to write music.
Nah,
We sort of leave it quite organic, I guess, is the best way to put it.
We put a basic framework together. I think we don't write on the spot. There are ideas put ahead, and we put demos together very quickly. Demos we don't show to other people other than us, but there's a demo which I really appreciate this style of writing. I'm not particularly good at writing on the spot. But we've never really done a huge amount on the spot. We generally have an idea that Pete and Matt have put together and put together as a demo, and then we'll take it apart and build up off that. So we do have a starting point. We don't write organically in the room just from scratch. There's always there's an idea that's worked on, and I think it's put back into a cupboard sometimes for a while, comes out again, and it's totally different. I think if you the songs that we've got coming out now, we've got some demos that sound night and day different to what they were originally when they were out as the initial demos. But I think that's a really good style of writing. For me personally, I really appreciate how we put it together.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like part of the process is that what people don't see is these songs get rewritten and then rewritten again. And even after that, like there's so many different changes of like tonalities, or even like drum fills. We can spend a rehearsal going over like a verse and a chorus, or a middle eight, or an intro, just because we need to get it right. And that's the thing is like we'll have a demo that we would write. Matt's quite key in sort of like the sort of songwriting, creating that idea. But me and Matt do sit down quite often to sort of polish it up a bit, and then we give it. Then they sort of their input on it. And just because if myself and Matt have like a written parts to it, it doesn't mean it's gospel. And what we like is if there's anything the boys don't like, then it's quite nice to sort of get their opinions straight away. And in the room, we're quite happy to sort of change things on the spot as long as there's something to work like with. But yeah, it goes through quite a lot of like rewriting processes, I guess.
In my mind, I think some of the best parts, obviously we've only put a couple of songs out at the moment, but as Joe was saying, they're totally different to how the demos were. But I think the bits that were changed, we were chucking them back and forth for quite a while in the room, and then I think, for example, the breakdown riffy part at the end of Main, Pete just chucked that out. And then it just felt it was like, oh, how have we not had this in the song the whole time? You know, so some of the better moments do come from just jamming in the room together, which is always fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Lisaboo's just said that's great. It's a fluid process.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Lisa. We've got a question from Abby. She asks, what's the process like filming a music video after you've obviously created a song and you're happy with it and you want to release it? What's the process for filming a music video?
Pete, do you want to answer this one? Thanks, Abby, for your question.
Yeah. I guess it depends. It depends on budget, I think. I think that's like the hardest thing is if we're going to go in and we've got a budget of, say, £750 to £1,200 to film a video, I think we'd like to work with other creatives and build a concept we'll have like some kind of idea of what we want from it, but you're working alongside a videographer who's got heaps of experience to sort of help you out. and then if we're doing it sort of by ourselves, because we've done so far, we've done 2 music videos. One's been professionally filmed, one we've done in house. The process is pretty similar because if it's like a performance video, like the 2 that we've got so far, which they are, is actually probably my least favorite thing to do in a band is shoot a music video, because what you end up doing is listening to the same song about 30 to 40 times in the same day, and it just it completely knackers you out. It's not a fun process, in my opinion anyway. I'd much rather play live.
Cool. We've got a question from Alex. Alex says, what's your favourite, playing live or releasing music?
Oh, that's hard.
That is a tough one. Thank
Yeah.
you for the question, Alex. I probably think that playing live is that's where it's more fun, because the releasing music side of it is it's pretty, how do I even put it? It's almost like once we've released a song, without sounding all grandiose, like once it's released, it's kind of no longer ours. Like it's not like ours that we can play in the room and we are the only ones that are sort of like privy to it. Once again, like anybody can listen to it, and I hope everybody goes and listens to it.
Please
Like,
listen to it.
yeah. Playing live, I think, because there's that sort of like 30 to 40 minutes where you sort of like have people's attention, and it's that sort of like raw I think Pete actually said it earlier, it's that like sort of like raw emotional outlet, and it's that relationship you're having with the audience in a live environment. I feel like that is, for me, that's like the best part about being a musician, that like performing aspect. I think, I love going to the studio and working on the tracks behind the scenes, but I also find it to sometimes be quite challenging. Whereas like playing live, you kind of get that like instant like hit. I don't know about you boys. What do you think?
I agree. I think you get that endorphin release. We're live performance musicians, and that's where you get like your big kicks from. Studio's great. It doesn't mean studio's bad. I just think we signed up for it. We want to play live. That's what we're all about. That's a big thing for me as well.
Cool. So thank you for that, Alex. Right. So you've mentioned that you are working on an EP and you've got a couple of songs out already. Could you tell us a little bit about the EP?
The previous one, or the one to come?
One, like both, really.
Ooh, so the previous one that we've just released, I think that it's quite interesting looking back at them in comparison, which I guess at the moment, obviously, we're the only ones that can kind of do that. But stuff that we have released so far, I find that where we wrote that as we were sort of like finding our feet as a band, they are very much authentic for who we are and who we want to be as musicians. But I think we hadn't really dove into that sort of like, we hadn't explored all the parameters of the sort of the genre effectively that we inhabit. Like we hadn't really dove into those areas of the really, really like pretty clean areas, or the like heavier sort of like darker areas. And I find that this next body of work is the evolution of that. It's kind of like having the diet version and then having the full fat version. Like it feels like this is the very natural next step. And I think as well, the previous EP was much more, I thought it was, I think it's a little bit more. It has got quite a melancholy feel, whereas the next the next body of work is at the point of, I think a lot of it is driven through anger, a lot of it is driven through frustration, and it's gone from being the first EP, I think, is intentionally personal, whereas as in like sort of autobiographical in a lyrical sense, whereas the next body of work, in my opinion, is sort of like more of an outlook from a personal view. But musically, I think that we have challenged ourselves so much in this next one we're about to go and record at the end of March, that that looking back on that other EP now, with no disrespect to it, I feel like it almost looks quite easy to play in comparison.
We've definitely from that, like we've definitely moved forward as a band in terms of songwriting, and I think our like overall like confidence when it comes to songwriting. There's certain approaches now that we have to take that we probably wouldn't have a year ago before we recorded the first EP. So I think that's something that's quite different sort of to expect from this sort of new one. There's more sort of a swagger, I'd say, around the next body of work. I think there's more confidence, definitely.
Cool. So we've got another question from Ozzy this time. She asks, "Is there someone who has inspired you, who inspired you the most?"
Oh, good question. I think it's probably easier in terms of like picking someone for me as like a lead guitarist. It's easy to sort of say, like, I guess David Gilmour was probably like the first guitarist I heard that the way he sort of played it wasn't, brash, it wasn't fast, it wasn't so in your face, but yet it held so much emotion, and it held like a lot of passion in the way and he played. And I think that's probably my biggest inspiration, because I think there's so many amazing guitarists out there who can play lightning fast, who can play everything under the sun, but I feel like you either have that emotion or you don't. And that's something I definitely took inspiration of from David Gilmour, especially.
Cool. So, thank you for that, Ozzy. So, I know you're working on the new EP, but are you sort of like still writing new material for the next project?
Pete?
I've been talking loads. Someone else can have a go. Go on, Albie.
Yeah, Alfie, yeah.
I mean, it seems like we're always sort of kicking around new ideas and sort of stuff to do next. Obviously, we're just about to go in and record this new EP. After that, I don't think we were necessarily looking at going in to do another heavily themed thing, because there's songs that we have in our live set list that we haven't been able to get recorded or put onto an EP or anything yet, because they're sort of differently styled. So I think what we're going to lean into after we've got the next lot of recording done is maybe we were talking about doing something maybe in a live setting where we get some songs recorded that don't necessarily go together in the context of an album or an EP, but they're just songs that we like, and we can sort of present them in a different way. So we're always working on other stuff, and like we're not afraid to kick things around in the room for a little while, which I think is really cool.
Cool. So, is there any plans on doing sort of like merchandise, such as t-shirts, caps, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think we're actually putting on our own show at the end of March, and it's going to be like our first time doing that in this project. So we're trying to get everything sorted, ready for that. So at the minute, we're looking at t-shirts, we're looking at doing some prints, pics, stickers, anything we can kind of anything we can kind of afford. I guess that's the main one. We are going into like it's a really, really like busy time for the band. But yeah, I like quite quirky merch, something that sort of is a bit different. So yeah, that's definitely in the plans for the next sort of month or so.
Cool. Lisa said she likes pins badges. So she said pins, please.
Okay.
Definitely look into
We
that
can do
one.
right. That's not a tough one to do. I think we can handle that one.
Yeah. So, is there any sort of like plans, talks, on about doing any sort of like vinyl records?
Oh,
God,
that'd be...
I mean, I think we're having the first talk about it now. To be honest with you, I think it would be lovely, and I'm a big believer in sort of tangible audio as well. Like I really love CDs still. I don't have a vinyl player, but I fully appreciate the like love of vinyl, and especially with the rise of like all the streaming services, I think that tangible music still should have its place. And yeah, I think at some point we could do vinyl. I wouldn't even know how to go about getting that done. I'll be honest with you, but I think it could be cool.
No, as I said, I quite like the fact that I'm the only one who has a piece of, well, a vinyl of a Thorne song. It was probably the one Christmas presents I've ever got. It is. I almost don't want to make another vinyl now. I don't want to get one made. To have the one off is pretty special.
How do you how do you listen to music most? Are you streaming? Are you CD? Are you vinyl? Cassette apparently is coming back in now as well.
All of the above.
All the above.
All of the
Correct. That's a good answer.
If you saw my setup, literally, you'd be like, saying, "What? 1 second, I've got to switch my camera." Oh, wrong one. That's my setup.
Oh yeah, the old school decks there. I like that.
Yeah, and obviously you've got the literally the computers and everything. So all the above, basically.
Yeah, nice.
It's interesting because we've gone through a period of music becoming something, you could you'd go and buy like a CD, or maybe back then like a vinyl, and you'd sit around with friends enjoying it. Whereas now music is so accessible that it is a blessing and a curse, really. But I mean, that's the one thing I think I miss most, is that like I remember when I moved up to Southampton with one of my friends for uni, and we would I actually distinctly remember going and buying I think it was the first 1975 album on CD and listening to it, and like just the fact of like putting that on and listening to the whole thing, and having that sort of like moment rather than sort of like streaming it. I don't know. I personally like that. And I think it's a very cool way to still consume music, but I like that again, it's accessible to everybody now, and I think that it's good because people can find us super easy as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Matt, do you remember when we used to make CDs? When we used to go for like drives. When me and Matt first sort of like
when we first started dating.
when we first started like writing music together and sort of being in projects, we'd be just out driving and stupidly smoking cigarettes in a car, just talking about music. And I think like something I can't remember what it was I used to use to sort of play music in my car, broken. I remember Matt had made like so many CDs of just like music that really like ended up shaping a lot of the music I listen to now. were on those CDs. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's how we sort of like listened to music together, was through CD. But even like 2016, 2017.
Yeah, mad, isn't it?
Feel old.
Right, try being in your 50s. Literally. It's, yeah. But, yeah. So we've got another question from Lisaboo. She asks, if you could collaborate with another band, what band would you choose?
One band. There's too many bands.
I think
Watch your sleeps.
one of the ones we asked our music relates to. I think in terms of like fangirling, for me, it would be Devil Wears Prada, absolutely, or Architects, Bring Me the Horizon. But I think in terms of like sound matching, that sort of stuff, I think it is While We Sleep. While She Sleeps, Sleep Token. We're quite versatile, so. But my preference would be like the older style lot, which my inspiration, which I think we could still potentially work with if they're still around in the future.
Cool. Some good bands there, which I've seen live.
Oh, they're amazing live. Yeah, I've seen all of them live. Fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that, Lisa.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah. We've got a question from Abby. She asks, which band inspired Thorne's sound? Is there a particular sound genre you like to sound like?
Oh, I don't know. I think for us, we'll have like our own personal inspiration, like bands that inspire us and music that we listen to, that we naturally gravitate towards. I think this is something I struggle with. Like, I don't think there's many bands out there that sound like Thorne. I think we all sort of bring what we love about music into this project, and we go through like phases and stuff. So at the minute, like, I've just been pumping While She Sleeps quite a lot, and I've noticed that I've started gravitating as a guitarist towards variants of stuff that Sean plays in them. But then I can't speak on behalf of the other boys, but I think it sort of all comes together, and then all our own individual sort of like bands that like inspire us sort of merge into the room with us, kind of thing.
In my mind, I've said it to the boys loads of times when we've been at practice or whatever, but there's loads and loads of parts of our set throughout where it's sort of everything. I said there's a window between sort of like the mid '90s up to like the early 2010s. There's huge like landmarks that we very all obviously be influenced by. And Matt comments on it sometimes. He says, "Oh, is this too cheesy? Are we doing something? Are we doing something like tongue in cheek there?" But I think that period in particular is quite important for all of us, and does seem to sort of work its way through into most of the stuff we do these days.
I must admit, it's like I don't ever think we've like strived to sound a particular way. I always find that when we're in that process of composing, I always find that like whatever the raw emotion is at the start of the process kind of naturally guides the song to a conclusion. But I think that I guess in terms of genre, like we are that sort of like alt rock, almost post hardcore sound. And I feel very, very lucky and very, very blessed in the sense that I feel like we have fallen on our feet in terms of finding our sound at this point. I know that sometimes it takes bands actually a little bit of time, but like we've come to this conclusion that we like currently the stuff that we're writing, how it sounds, and how we're performing it, and like listening back to the demos and stuff. And I think that I like that. And I don't know if this is necessarily something that all bands do, or if it's just a select few or whatever. But like, I think we have to love it first. Like, we never go into it thinking like, will an audience like this? I think it's David Bowie who said that. I can't remember the specific quote now, but it's like, you should never write for the audience. And I think that we have to love what we are making first and foremost. And then when we put it out there, it is really like raw, it is very honest, it's authentic, and it's not like we're not putting out anything that's sort of like contrived or fraudulent to sort of like be to like jump on bandwagons or like trends or anything like that. And I think that that's something that we've never spoken about as a band, but I think has kind of become like an unwritten rule, so to speak. And if we do fall into trends, or if we do fall into sort of like characteristics of a genre, I think it is by accident. It's never intentional.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you, Abby. Yeah. So, got a question from Alex. They said, "Is there a particular band look you'll be going for when you playing live?"
Sweaty in my case.
Whatever the other guys recommend, I wear. I think.
yeah. I kind of feel like Matt and myself take a little bit of a
lead on that.
Refined approach to sort of like the aesthetic of the band, and that's not saying Alfie and Joe can't dress themselves. They very much can.
Exactly
I just think
what
it's
they're
more.
saying.
I think it's of I think mine and Matt, speak on behalf of Matt's, but like sort of like fashion and different sort of like aesthetics live. And also for me, like first of all, I want to be comfortable. I mean, there's nothing worse than getting on stage. And I love wearing Doc Martens, but I can't play half the stuff I play live wearing Doc Martens. They're just too big. I'll sort of lean into that sort of more new metal sort of Adidas sort of look. That's what I'm trying to sort of go for at the moment. I don't know about Matt. I don't know what Matt's doing now. Pinstripe suits maybe.
I want to wear a suit for our headline show. Ironically, we were talking about Talking Heads earlier. I really want like a really baggy grey suit. Turns out baggy grey suits are quite expensive because they're quite they're very fashionable at the moment. So I'm not really too sure what to go for. But sort of to answer your question, Alex, I think we just try and keep it relatively nothing overzealous, nothing fluorescent. Like I think that we know that we're putting on a performance, we know that we're putting on a show, and I think that we want to look the part. No, not that it's like uniforms or that it's like costumes, because I think that you open up a whole world there. But I think it's we want to look the part as much as we are, because I think I remember speaking to Pete about this, and it's like if you're dressed for the part as well, you know, it gives you that confidence on the stage. It gives you that confidence to sort of like own that performance. And I'm not saying that like what you wear completely dictates how you perform, but I know for me personally that it's on my mind, and I know for Pete is. I don't know about the other two boys, but yeah.
I feel like when you look at a band, like I've had it before at shows where I've turned up and you can see like 5 people walk into a room and you go, oh, they're a band. You can just tell from what they're wearing, and it's not necessarily they're wearing the same thing. I don't look at it as a uniform, but I guess like if we're sort of setting up for like a live show, I want to look around at, you know, Alfie, Matt, Joe, and be like, we look as a collective, like we look and feel like we're a collective. And in some respects, it is like putting on like a uniform, because when you put that on, it's like, okay, this is game time now. Like, we're here to show up, we're here to perform, we're here. People have paid hard-earned money to see us, and it's time for us to deliver. And I think by having a sort of cohesiveness to your appearance, I think definitely helps our mental state on stage anyway. Well, for me it does.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thanks for that, Alex. So what is there any, like, obviously you mentioned you're going to be doing a gig later next month. Is there any sort of like plans on doing any sort of like tours, like playing any gigs?
I think because we've got obviously a few things in the pipeline, we're very much in the case that we want to really focus on this, going to the studio and this show in March. I think really putting our all into that, and I think from that, our focus then will be working on how we're gonna present the EP, all the things that are sort of like accompanying with that as well. Within that conversation does come tours, does come sort of like weekenders, does come gigs. I think that where we're at the moment, and the people that we've currently got involved with us sort of behind the scenes as well, is something that will happen. It's just, I think right now there's like everybody in the music industry will know, especially at our level, getting gigs it really is its own beast. It's very tough, especially when you're not like a local band to that city. Getting sort of out of town promoters to take a punt on you, it can be very, very very, very difficult, and I can sort of appreciate and understand why, in terms of the way the industry is and how live music's really been affected. But yeah, I think in a roundabout way to answer that, we absolutely want to get out like this year and be playing. We absolutely want to visit as much of the UK as possible, playing live. Because so far we've been a band for a year and a bit, and we've played 2 shows. And don't get me wrong, I feel very appreciative of everybody who come down to these shows, and I think we put on, we really pride ourselves on the performance. But I'm really, really hoping that sort of like second half of the year, we really get, I'm hoping we get more opportunities to showcase that.
Cool. Let's hope so. So if you got all the everything is aligned, you got the finances, and you got the support of like the fans and stuff like that, would you sort of like consider going over to sort of like Europe, or even over to Canada or down to Australia if everything was aligned?
Oh, definitely. Australia would be a dream. I think Europe would be a lot of fun. I think as you can cover a lot of ground quite quickly. I think. Yeah, I think the only place I don't know. I think America. I'm not too big on. I'd love to do Asia though. I'd love to tour Asia. That has always been a big dream of mine.
Do you know what? As a kid and still now, I know that obviously it's not as on now, but one of my dreams when I was like growing up as a musician was to play Warped Tour. Like that was
me.
Yeah,
Warped Tour.
To play Warped Tour would have been mad, but yeah, I just like playing live wherever that is within reason. Like, let's not get carried away, but like, but yeah, I just that's all we want to do, I think, really.
I'd love to get on one of those big leg tours like Warped Tour. There are European type tours as well, but Warped Tour stopped, and I was gutted because that was in 2018. I think it first stopped, and then it restarted again and stopped and started again. But I think if we continue gaining momentum and do really well, we fit the bill. We sit within Warped Tour. So for me, it's still a dream. I think it's still something which I'd love to do. Even if we just did the European leg of it, because they do a small bit in mainly the UK, that would be a huge thing. But Europe for me, absolutely. And Asia would be good. Australia, fantastic. Canada, absolutely. But same as Pete, not too fussed with America. See where it takes us. But we have pocket followings, pocket listeners around. When you look at the algorithms, we've got some interesting groups of listeners around the world. So maybe, who knows, that might take us to certain places. We don't know yet.
Cool. I just looked up. Warp Tour is still going. They're doing a North American tour.
You never know.
Joe. Dream
So
still
you're
there,
saying
mate.
there's a chance?
Carbonized Stardust, one of my moderators, she says, if more UK bands don't come to Canada, I'm going to do something mean to the tea. Joke.
Don't spoil our tea, please.
Did anyone even drink?
No,
like
I mean,
drink.
arguably, I don't. I think Joe's the only one that does drink tea. But I mean, like, it'd be very interesting to see what the sort of like live scene is in Canada. I'm trying to think of Canadian. I'm thinking of Canadian bands. The only one I can think of at the moment is Avril Lavigne. I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure Sum 41 are Canadian as well, aren't they?
Brian Adams is Canadian.
Be right.
Love it.
There's Striper. There's Rush. There's
of course, yeah.
it's obviously Brian Adams. There's Nelly Furtado. There's put it this way, there's absolutely shit ton of Canadian bands, literally ranging from Brian Adams. Yeah, so
Yes, if finances and demand allow, we'd absolutely love to come over to Canada. 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that's a little bit
Preferably in the summer. The winters look terrible.
We're already coming over in hot. Canada would be cool, but I think it's a little bit of a while off yet, unfortunately. Sorry to disappoint. Nickelback. They did a song I think specifically Chad Kroeger did a song recently with Don Broco, and it's very, very good.
Incredible.
I'm not that avid a listener of Nickelback, but hearing that with Don Broco was very, very interesting. It's a very cool song.
Carbonized. So they don't want to go to Bugany in -40 with all their gear on the tubes.
It could be fun. I think it could be a good time.
Alfie would make a good tobogganer, I think.
Aerodynamic.
It's definitely the clumsiest though, so I probably wouldn't trust him with it.
Yeah, that's cold. Sorry. I do.
That's all right. We've got a question from Lisaboo, which is pretty much relevant to what's been discussing, really. What would be your dream venue to play at?
For me, it's Ali Pali.
Yeah,
Alexandra Palace for me is the one I really, really want to play.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
that would be fun. Ali Pali, definitely.
Cool.
It's difficult for me. I think I've really enjoyed some of the places I've played in the past that don't do as much live music now. I think any of the O2 academies, really, O2 Brixton, those sorts of venues have a generally a really good vibe, good upkeep, and I think that's potentially a bit achievable as well. Like it's not completely out of reach. The O2 academies for sure.
Alfie?
I would say the same thing. One of the O2 academies would be sweet. I'd be very cool to play the Roundhouse. I've seen a good gig there. I went to see the Menzingers there a few years ago, and that was an awesome show. It's a really cool venue. I think something like that would be awesome.
Thank you for your question.
Cool. Thank you for that, Lisa. Copenhagen just said, I'm going to add you to the list. PMM never leads me wrong.
I appreciate that. We'll see where it goes.
Yep. Right, we've got a question from Nat Frampton. Do you listen to other genres of music too?
I think we do. I mean, we're to kind of put it in a roundabout way. I think we as a group, we create as we consume. So like we'll listen to one of the albums I've been listening to recently is Quest of Fire by Skrillex, and I think that actually the most recent song we've been finishing has sort of like a byproduct of that, has electronic elements within it. I think because of the different iterations as well of bands that I've been in, my sort of love for music is sort of like relatively vast. Like I like a lot of music, and I know it sounds so generic saying that, but like even going from like certain like hip hop tracks all the way up to like heavier metal. Like today I was listening to Kendrick Lamar and then also sending an Era song to Pete. So like it does fluctuate. I also as well do have I like pop music as well. I find that like especially as the sort of band we want to be, there is a lot to learn from it in terms of sort of what makes you kind of like feel good. It's like nice listening music. Like I feel like for a while, especially with the rock community, there's such a taboo on not wanting to listen to it. But since the rise, I can feel the rise in like country music as well coming into rock music.
I can stay out.
So yeah, but I mean, I don't know about the other boys in terms of that. Like, I know that Alfie has a pretty wide.
I think it's pretty important to listen to as much sort of different stuff as you can. I think good music's good music regardless of what sort of genre. I mean, you know, I did it a lot when I was younger. It was like, oh, if it's not rock music, I don't want to know. But I think when you start opening up and you can take inspiration from other different sorts of places, it's interesting what you can do with it. So you shouldn't shut yourself off to anything, I don't think.
Yeah, true. Thank you for that, Nat. Carbonized has just said, totally agree. There's things to be learned from each genre.
That is very, very true.
Definitely.
Me and Pete actually are. I should have mentioned this earlier. We have me and Pete have played an ungodly amount of gigs together, and notoriously travelled to and from them a lot. Me and Pete have this undying love for 80s music, and that is a big umbrella. But like, it is honestly, I'm surprised that hasn't bled into our music.
I think it started. I definitely think it started to with some of the tones you've been coming out with lately. They're kind of on that edge of it being sort of 80s glam rock tones. Nothing wrong with it.
What was the song the other day? And we were in the car. Stay for good this time.
Yeah, Paul Young. Paul Young?
That's
Yeah,
it.
Paul Young.
Yeah.
Oh, that song was
Yeah.
stuck in my head for ages as
Did
well.
you like
Just
the
because it's
Book of
so
Love?
funny. That bit.
For me, it's those early Korg synths they had. I love the tones and the early synth noises they had on those effects. There's such a distinct. It's a shame it's not done even ironically anymore. But like, you know, if you watch Stranger Things, if you've watched any of Stranger Things, they pay close attention to the style of like the electronic music in that, which is why it's got such a vibe with the intro music and stuff. I absolutely love that tone and that electric music, which is so distinct for the 80s. I think it's fantastic.
Cool. Right, we got a question. Well, more of a comment, really. Has anyone asked who plays what, does vocals, or am I just unusually late? So, could you say who does what?
If we do the same order as last time, Alfie, do you wanna?
I play bass.
I'm Matt, and I sing lead vocals and play rhythm guitar.
I'm Pete. I play lead guitar and backing vocals.
I'm Joe. I'm the drummer.
Nice to meet you.
Happy to meet you.
Well, thank you for that, Carbonized. Carbonized asked, which bands inspired you the most of the? I can't speak. Which bands inspired you into the world of music?
Oh,
I think it kind of. Oh, go on, you go, Pete.
I don't know. I think for me, Beatles were definitely growing up as well. Anything sort of 70s rock music sort of got me into sort of wanting to learn an instrument, I guess.
I think I have similar lines to Pete for me. It starts off with Queen, so classic rock bands, and then from then on, I think the first CDs I was getting Gorillaz, that sort of stuff. So a bit more on the modern side music, but yeah, started off with classic rock, especially with Queen.
Alfie?
So, you know, same as the boys, it was a lot of like classic rock stuff to start with. I think when you start to sort of find your own way, make your own taste. In my case, it was in secondary school. I started to get into more heavy bands like Queen of the Stone Age and then Rage Against the Machine, Soundgarden, bits and bobs like that left quite an impression on me. And then I found that's where I sort of started to investigate how I could sort of get those sort of sounds for myself more and more.
Cool. Is a couple I said, Soundgarden.
Yeah, big fan.
Yeah. Carbonite just said, first I wanted to be Celine Dion, but she hits a note higher than I do. Then I wanted to be a girl, Linkin Park, and scream.
All right, I get that. Absolutely.
Yes.
It's interesting. I didn't even really clock it till the other day that there's actually quite a fair bit, especially like if you listen to Hybrid Theory. I actually think that by proxy of, you know, the bands that have been influenced by that are actually the bands that we're then taking influence from now. So it's kind of roundabout way. I haven't listened to Linkin Park in actually so long, but I look at Hybrid Theory now, even just from that question, and think how you can tell when an album is really, really good when it's like it's almost like evergreen. It's so relevant still. And yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to Hybrid Theory now, I think, again.
Yeah, Carbonite just said, hybrid Theory changed my life. So basically perfection.
100% agree. I think that's as a band, we're trying to fuse that sort of like that element of electronic within the sort of like raw visceral rock sound, which I think Linkin Park do obviously very, very well. And I think Pete touched on it earlier about the new metal sound. And I guess we're kind of trying to do new metal in a pretty way. I think
the perfect way to describe it.
I think that not that we're the most avid listeners of bands like Deftones and stuff, but I do definitely think that we pull a lot of influence from that as well. I know there's I don't know if anybody knows the band Loathe. I really, really take a lot of influence, from Loathe and the way they write, especially the most recent album. But yeah, Hybrid Theory still a banger.
Oh, always will be.
Corbin Ice just said, I'm so excited to check out your music. And she says, new band.
Oh, thank you. No, please do. We're on all the major streaming platforms. Thorne Band UK tag for Instagram. I think what would it be for Spotify? What would you just type in for Spotify? It's just Thorne, isn't it? That was just
Thorne, yeah. I think we're. I hope you like our music. It, like I said, I think that the iteration we're speaking of now is what's to come, sort of like mid this year.
Absolutely.
But yeah, regardless, I really hope you like it, and thank you for all of your questions. It's lovely.
Cool. So I was just about to ask, where can you find you on social media? So you've already answered that. So everywhere, basically. So we're going to be starting to wrap things up in about 10 minutes or so. So get your questions in now. So any advice for people who want to become a musician?
I don't know, but if they have any for us, that'd be really, really good.
They probably stick with it. Just stick with it. I think there's so much that you learn from trying to make it in this industry that, like in any industry, you're gonna hit a few wrong turns, and it's very easy to give up when you realize how much time, effort, money, and buying equipment. You could just buy your beginner set, then your next set up, and then your next set up. Before you know it, you're in for thousands. And I think it's quite easy to pull the chain quite quickly when you're trying to make it as a musician. But if you just stick with it, I think eventually those opportunities will present themselves.
I think the only advice I'd give is just, and it's not that I've made it or anything, because I haven't, but just like focus on making good art, focus on making good music. Like that should, I think the one thing you can't fake is authenticity. And it's the one thing that I think we've all felt as well, is that this band, we wanted it to be real. We wanted it to be honest, and hopefully relatable. And within that, I think that, like, don't get caught, because you asked Pete, I used to be so caught up in, I want to make it. I want to be X, Y, Z. I want to be the next big thing. I think just give, am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
Okay, just give a shit. Like, just care about what you're doing. Care about the music you're making, if that's really what you want to do, or the art you're making, and that's the most important thing, in my opinion. But I think it is.
I think I would say don't be put off by starting to learn the instrument and seeing how much better everyone looks than you. It takes years, and as Pete says, you have good days, bad days. Don't be put off. I was a bad drummer for 7 years. I was never the best in my class. I was the worst in all my classes through secondary school. And it was only when I took inspiration and I had my first idols that I really started working hard towards it and putting the effort in. But I think it would be so easy today to be 12, 11 years old, whatever, learning your first instrument. And you go on YouTube, like, let's go see what other people my age are doing. And you'll see some guys shredding at whatever age and think, no, I can't do that. I think that in a way probably puts up a bit more of a barrier than what it used to be. It used to be you used to get like a videotape or something, a CD, and you'd have just 2 drummers on there, or you'd be reading through the books. I think it must be quite off-putting if you're young now, because you assume you have to be good straight away. It takes years. Let's say it's a language, it's an art. It takes time. So don't be put off initially if it feels like you're in deep water. Like you're always learning, and I think there's a long period of time where you feel like you're getting worse before you're getting better. But that's just part of the process.
Corbin just said theory is part of success.
Absolutely.
Definitely. I think it's important to just enjoy it. I think especially if you're in a position where you're getting together with your mates and you're just turning up your guitars really loud and making a bunch of noise. I think that's it. That's a really important part of it. And just to echo what the other guys were saying, you're always going to be trying to be a better musician, and it will come. There's just always stuff you're learning. So I think it's important to just sort of slow down for a little bit and just enjoy the mesh you're making with your mate, and then it'll fall into place.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for that. Sound advice there. Corbin has just said, I like to say it's like stats in video games. You start at the bottom, and as you fail and die, you learn to succeed and eventually do. Because I have a teenager.
Very relevant.
Yeah, we've got one final question from Alex. They ask, who's the biggest diva in the band?
Matt.
Alfie.
Joe, that's the biggest lie that's ever come out of your mouth. Who knows what the biggest diva is?
I actually think at the moment the biggest diva is Joe.
Stop
I
it.
won't dive into it at the moment, but there's this bed gate going on at the moment when we're going to the studio.
Hey, Joe is.
Yeah,
there's no disagreement. It's fine.
So yeah, I mean, I think I probably am the biggest diva in the band, unfortunately, but yeah, that is what it is. Comes with the territory.
I also think Joe's a very close second.
Yeah.
I'm old. I'm very, very old.
Yeah, when I first met you, Joe, I didn't think you'd be a diva, but yeah, these last few weeks have proven to be that you are quite the diva.
I'm high maintenance. I come with baggage.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that, Alex.
Thank you for that, Alex. So, Copenhagen has just said, you guys have such good attitudes. May those attitudes lead you to your dreams.
That's really sweet.
Thank you very much.
And, yeah, and thank you for all of your questions and saying that you're going to check us out. It really, really does mean the world. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Oh, pleasures. So we're going to be wrapping things up. So have you got any final words before we go?
I just want to say a thank you to yourself as well for having us on, for taking an hour and a half out of your day to speak to 4 strangers. You've been like so lovely, so sweet. You've asked some really really interesting questions that I think the boys agree we all have enjoyed answering. And thank you to your audience as well for being a part of the conversation with us. I think we all love being able to chat, even if it is in this way and not like in person at a gig or whatever, because of geography or whatever. But yeah, like a massive thanks to everybody. That's kind of like the last thing I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Cheers, guys.
We've got a couple of comments before we go. Let me just see. Oh, there it is. Thanks for letting us bug you from Copenhagen. Lisaboo says thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Copenhagen.
I said, listen, the last drummer that was in here, I made blush.
That would be an
Yeah.
interesting story.
Yeah,
No
that
comment.
Was, that was with that was one with the last week. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for coming, for joining us, guys. It's been very much appreciated. It's so thank you, and guys, if you guys in the chat, if you haven't checked out Thorne, please do. I've put all the links down in the description. So again, guys, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you for having us, and thank you everybody.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
So until next time, guys, we'll catch you all later.